What's good, YouTube? It's Mirror Boys, back in another video. Today I want to talk about a card that has not seen play for at least the past couple of years because it's slowly been power crept, but once this was a extremely terrifying card that was limited forever and was basically a staple in every single deck in competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! And with all this chatter about Eradicator, Epidemic Virus, the runics and the floodgates that are floating around, I thought that this card could possibly make a resurgence, and this card is actually called Mystical Space Typhoon. Now, this sounds a little bit crazy, but I mean, Cosmic Cyclone, we all know the sheer power of Cosmic. It's good enough to the point where it could possibly be main decked right now in this day and age at 3. But is 3 Cosmic Cyclone enough? Okay, there are a lot of cards running around rampant right now in the form of Eradicator, Epidemic Virus, which we talked about in the previous video. This card single-handedly won a Nationals. And one thing I realized about this card is a lot of times they're actually only playing one copy, especially in Labyrinth because they don't have the space, and they're searching it with Lady Labyrinth. So that's like the premier reason why you only have to play one, because you can basically search it off of Lady Labyrinth by chaining it and then using the effect of the Labyrinth Coup Clock. It allows you to activate a trap card that you set that turn. Alternatively, they might have set it on their turn, but it's kind of hard to play around that. I'm more talking about the more niche scenarios where they actually search the Eradicator on your turn, then search the Clue Clock and drop the Clue Clock so they can use the Eradicator. Well, one thing that you can actually do in that circumstance is the minute they set the Eradicator, and then they're going to go ahead and activate another Welcome Labyrinth or Big Welcome to search Ariana so they can get to the Coup Clock, what you can actually do is chain the MST targeting the Eradicator that they just set before Coup Clock is in rotation. Alternatively, if they already have the Clue Clock and they made the play where they search the Eradicator first before resolving the Coup Clock, then you can actually use the effect of MST to target the Eradicator before Coup Clock resolves, meaning they're not going to be able to flip it because Coup Clock has to resolve for them to flip a trap that they just set on that turn. So theoretically, with something like a Cosmic Cyclone and maybe Mystical Space Typhoon, you could possibly snipe the Eradicator before it has a chance to be activated, which is really cool. And I'm talking about Mystical Space Typhoon strictly in addition to Cosmic Cyclone because we're fairly certain that Cosmic Cyclone is just a better card. You pay 1,000 life points, which is the only drawback, but banishing a card is a lot more prevalent, especially when there are cards like Yugioh in the format that can protect from card destruction, right? So that's why I think that Cosmic Cyclone is probably your #1 priority, but at some point, maybe you actually have the side deck space where you can start side decking some copies of Mystical Space Typhoon because it has the interactions in the format. #1, getting rid of Eradicator, potentially preventing that blowout. #2, even if they set Eradicator on their turn, what you can do with Mystical Space Typhoon is chain it, so then hopefully you have enough monsters in your hand. You're still getting rid of another card with Mystical Space Typhoon, so Eradicator's not wiping out your entire hand. You're still getting some value because it's a quick play. And then losing that 1k life point cost when you go to time is very, very relevant in that sense as well. And speaking of runics, like Runic Fountain, the thing is, if you're going second against Runic Fountain, they probably already have something in the exterior monster zone, whether that's an IP Masquerena or a Muckracker. All you really have to do is wait until they activate the fountain, and then you could target the fountain and pop it because they're not going to be able to use any of their runic spells to special summon a Hugin into the extra monster zone because that extra monster zone is going to be already preoccupied by either a Muckracker or an IP Masquerena. So Mystical Space Typhoon guarantees that you're going to be able to pop the fountain so they do not resolve the draw 3. So that's kind of cool. In addition to Cosmic, you have like another card that prevents them from resolving that fountain. So it's kind of a cool card that catches them off guard. And then, of course, even going first, you have a lot of cards to hit in the format. Things like Cashier of Birth, obviously the field spells as well. The planet, when they try to add a monster, you can negate that as well, or destroy it rather. And then on top of all of that, there are other cards that are continuous in the format. Live Twin Sunny Stitch, this is not a bad hit. You can turn them off of their Live Twin engine potentially. And then going second, there are also cards like Anti-Spell Fragrance, which are a hindrance in this format. I think it's going to see a lot more play, especially when people realize that Eradicator is good again. So it means that people are probably going to be playing a lot of spells, right? So Anti-Spell kind of shuts that off. You can hit a lot of Floodgates like Skill Drain that are also prevalent in the metagame, goes in match. And even against decks like the Vanquished Soul, there can be only one that a lot of them are choosing to main because it actually hits a lot of decks right now, including Kashtira. So being able to hit that is really, really important in my opinion. And it just has a lot of application. I think if Cosmic Cyclone is that good of a card where people are starting to main deck it, then maybe there's a chance that in addition to the 3 Cosmic, you actually need more spell and trap removal. So that's where Mystical Space Typhoon kind of fills that void because it's only one of the only cards of that category that actually do a 1-for-1 trade, a clean 1-for-1 without any drawbacks. Another card you could consider is actually Twin Twisters. This is a little better when they have Eradicator on their turn and are able to shotgun it in your draw phase, because you're able to convert 2 of your spells in your hands to pop 2 of their other cards. So then if you have any other monsters, the chances are you're going to be able to push them through, right? So Twin Twisters is another option that you guys can consider. I just like how Mystical Space Typhoon is a lot better going first, because you get that clean 1-for-1 trade against like the field spells, against Cash Carry Birth, against the any cards that are kind of bugging you. Whereas Twin, you're forced to discard. It's a lot better in the scenario where you get Eradicated, but the chances that you don't get Eradicated, do you have enough cards to discard? Is your deck a deck that has the resources to discard an extra card and lose 2 cards and still be able to play? Because a lot of cards can't actually afford that. A lot of decks do not have that option to free discard a card without any drawbacks, right? Like they might need the cards in their hand. The one deck that I can think of is probably Runics, because you can discard your Runic names, get some spells in the graveyard, and start cycling them off. But it is a steep cost, especially in today's metagame where every card counts. You're playing hand traps as well, potentially, so you're already down cards in your hand, and then having to discard more cards is just sometimes unfeasible. There are decks like Branded that also have to discard in-engine for things like Lubellion, for things like Branded Opening, so you might just not have that luxury to discard. So that's where I think MST is a lot better. It's a lot better going first, filling that void. If you have a deck that's playing a lot of cards like Element Controller or things that are not going first, then you may be looking for cards that are better to side and going first, in addition to Cosmic Cyclone. So that's where Mystical Space Typhoon I think would be a lot better option than Twin Twister. But anyways, I just want to make a quick little video showing you guys that old cards can actually come back. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this, see if this card is actually viable. I've been kind of testing it out and seemingly decent. I actually had a match against Eureka as well. I was able to hit the Eureka Kong Kong and also their set Rika Sheet in another game. So it does have a lot of application against even rogue decks in the mirror match. Curious to hear what you guys think, or if there are any other cards of this category that are as good or decently good against the metagame. Let me know in the comments below. Other than that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.